Politico revealed that an Air National Guard crew has occasionally stayed at President Trump's Scotland resort while refueling at a small commercial airport nearby. Politico reports that the House Oversight Committee sent a letter to the Pentagon in June. According to the letter, the military has spent $11 million on fuel at the Prestwick Airport, the closest airport to Trump Turnberry. Since October 2017, fuel that would be cheaper if purchased at a U.S. military base. Politico reports that the letter also cites a Guardian report that the airport provided cut-rate rooms and free rounds of golf at Turnberry for U.S. military members. Taken together, the incidents raise the possibility that the military has helped keep Trump's Turnberry resort afloat. According to Politico, the property lost $4.5 million in 2017, but revenue went up $3 million in 2018. In a statement, the Air Force says it doesn't appear that any regulations were broken, but it will review all guidance pertaining to selection of airports and lodging accommodations during international travels. Jake, this report, the bottom line is they've never taken a route like this before, and it makes no sense if it's cheaper to do it elsewhere the way they've been doing it.
Yeah, listen, put this together with Vice President Mike Pence staying at the President's Resort in Ireland last week when he was in Ireland for official business. The point is the Vice President's office said the President requested that they stay there. Later, the Vice President's office said that that they made this decision on their own. Now, the fact is, people do what Donald Trump wants, whether he says it explicitly or not. We know that from the last 3 years of this presidency. People know what he wants, and they do it. Number two, all of these things that keep coming up, the staying at the President's Resort, Vice President Mike Pence staying at the President's Resort, the G7, Donald Trump pitching the G7 at his resort in Miami at Doral, put these all together, and Democrats are going to create, or trying to create, a convincing case that the president is profiting off the government. All of those things put together, put into an impeachment investigation, impeachment inquiry, could be a powerful tool for Democrats. That's what they believe at this point. And remember, as Congress comes back, Democrats are inching closer and closer to launching a large impeachment probe, and they're going to vote this week on defining that probe. So you're getting much closer to this impeachment investigation, and all these things are coming out, are all going to be a part of that.
Well, Susan Page, let's just line up the facts just from the past couple of weeks, what we've seen. We've seen, of course, the Scottish resort losing money. So the Air Force takes this circuitous route that costs American taxpayers a lot more money. Also, the nearby airport losing money. The only airport that's close to this place, of course, so the Air Force comes and they make a ton of money off of it. We saw the same thing with Ireland, that hardworking American taxpayers paying for Mike Pence and his how many people entourage was with him? It's a couple of hundred rooms, I think. Then you have the president at the G7. What's he talking about? Taking next year's G7 to his property at Doral. That is losing money, has lost a ton of money over the past couple of years. It wouldn't be very hard for members of the House or the Senate to put together a list of abuses this president's made. Look at the emoluments clause, and they could also look down at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue and see what happens at Trump Hotel every night.
So here's a question that Democrats are considering. They were, I think, some congressional Democrats surprised that the allegations of cooperation with the Russians and obstruction of justice in the special counsel's inquiry failed to really galvanize a majority of Americans to support impeachment. If you take this different tact, which Democrats are now taking, especially in the House, of looking at more familiar forms of official corruption, of things that make an official richer, plus the hush money payments during the campaign. That's another avenue that Democrats are increasingly going down. Does that persuade public opinion in a way that the Russia investigation does not? It does go to the heart of one of the strongest points that Donald Trump made during the 2016 campaign, and that was those chants of drain the swamp. Because I think when Americans look at some of these actions that have benefited the president and his family and his business, that looks pretty swampy to them.
Yeah, and the swamp levels, me, can just keep rising. And you can look, of course, at these specifics. You can look at, again, what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, whether it's Ireland, his resort in Ireland, or his resort in Scotland, whether it's the Trump Hotel, whether it's Doral. Again, all of these things losing money, or most of them losing money. And you can add it up. And also, again, look at the foreign policy. It goes back to how you can explain everything in his foreign policy, or just about everything, as it pertains to money, whether it's Russia and his son saying that before in the White House they got most of their money from Russian investors, or, my gosh, Saudi Arabia. Why does he have such a close relationship with Saudi Arabia when the rest of the world has turned away from Saudi Arabia? And the answer is very clear. Not only did they put on that outrageous display for him when he visited Saudi Arabia, but also Donald Trump bragged. He bragged in the 2016 campaign that the Saudis had given him hundreds of millions of dollars. So it all comes back to money. And in these cases, it's causing the taxpayers, it's causing hardworking Americans who are struggling to make ends meet every month. They're the ones who are paying this billionaire, lining this billionaire's pockets with more tax dollars, whether it's from the United States Air Force, or whether it's from Mike Pence's entourage, or whatever it's from. Americans are struggling, and Donald Trump's just using his position and power to get richer in a way that violates the Constitution.
At some point, the conclusion can be drawn that this presidency is beyond misguided, beyond ill-informed, and has nothing to do with actually working for the United States of America. At some point, we might get there. Still ahead on Morning Joe, Republican presidential candidate Mark Sanford joins the conversation.